Hi, Zareen. It's great to have Zareen here today on Talk Tuesday. Zareen is from Hazardous Journey Productions, and alongside her husband, Rob, she's been doing a lot of investigating pornography.
Hi, Judith. Yes. As I was saying, it's. I never thought I would be in a place where I open up talks or things like this with, yes, we're going to talk about pornography.
Yes. So tell me, I know that you've done a whole host of things, and this is, quite a new sort of journey for you. The last year or so, you've been focused on pornography. So why pornography?
So it's rather than it be pornography itself, it's about what's happening to children who are being exposed to today's genres of online pornography.
Right.
So what happened? So obviously we have Hazardous Journey Productions, and we've been making short parenting videos, and we stumbled across. Rob had been looking. He had come across porn-induced erectile dysfunction in young men, and was looking at making a documentary on that. At the same time, I was giving talks to women, and they were telling me about how they felt really bad after they had been on Facebook or Instagram. It was all this kind of self-esteem thing that was happening there. And so I coupled, with that, like other stuff I'd been worried about in regards to social media, and thought, oh my gosh, what effect would this have on teenage girls if it's having this effect on adult females? So kind of between us, we were talking about the things that we had found. And then we started doing some more research, and we stumbled, like literally just stumbled across all this information on kids being exposed to online pornography, which has changed considerably since our day when we were young, and like a plethora of physical and emotional damage that it's causing to young children, like worldwide, wherever you've got internet, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know only because, when my eldest son first went to high school, and his first week, and he just turned 13, and he got unsolicited hardcore porn sent to his mobile phone. So he wasn't, at this, wasn't even looking for it, and yet something, absolutely hideous just popped up on his phone, and that was really quite shocking for us, because we were aware that if you go looking for it, it's quite easy to find, but it wasn't on my radar that the kids would actually be, sort of bombarded with it, even if they're not looking for it.
Yeah, and so, yeah. And this is the other thing that we found in our research, is that parents actually, the knowledge that parents have in terms of what's happening is way out of sync with the reality.
Right.
And so we decided then we have to make a documentary about this. We have to find out as much as we can about this topic, find all the leading experts, go interview the leading experts, and be able to provide the information and solutions to parents, because we want to help protect as many children as can possibly be protected. And yeah, it's not, and look, this isn't about oh my gosh, our children are being exposed to pornography, because when I was about 10, my stepsister showed me a Playboy that she had found underneath the bed, right? So we're both like, ooh, oh, and I'm pretty sure that or I've heard stories of guys my age who, when they were young, they would purposefully go to the library and seek out like National Geographic and things like that to have a book, or farmers catalogs. Like my husband would get like his mum's, that kind of farmers catalog. I can't remember what the name of it was back then. It could have even been Farmers, and looking through the swimsuit section and the underwear section. So that curiosity is not something that's new. What is different is the way in which our children are being able to access pornography. And it's different. It's not just a magazine or a picture that you see once and then you don't see a lot of it or any of it for a while, or if you're a young boy, you know, all you're getting exposed to are these kind of pictures, which in comparison to what's happening today, you know, seem very tame.
Yeah.
The fact is that what's happening today is that, so I just need to give you a bit of information behind pornography and the changes so that you can see how we've got to where we are today.
Absolutely.
Pretty much what happened was when the internet came along and when smartphones came along, obviously porn videos could be streamed through the handheld devices. And the more, so when people become hooked on pornography, and I'm not saying that everybody does, but when this happens, what happens is with a drug, if you're taking cocaine, you want more and more and more cocaine. With pornography, you want more but different. So the thing that got you off in the first place, which might be, you know, sort of standard vanilla porn, now becomes no longer effective. So you need something that pushes the envelope just slightly. And this is what's been happening now. Our mainstream pornography that's accessible on our handheld devices, like there's a staggering percentage of that which has violence towards women, which is degrading towards men and towards women, but it's violent, it's degrading. And then you've got this going on here. So imagine this like a storm here. And then you've got this other kind of storm here, which is the fact that we had no idea that this was going on. A lot of us had no idea. And we had these smartphones. And when the new ones came out, we gave our smartphones to our kids. And then it became like we would buy our kids their own smartphone, or we would buy them their own handheld, their own tablet handheld device. So you've got this that's going on, and now all of a sudden our kids have unlimited access to whatever is out there in the internet swimming around, which includes all of this, you know, violent and degrading pornography, which is free. So you put those into the mix, and then you take in the fact that children are curious and they want to know. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with a kid being curious about sex. At all different ages, they go through different stages of their curiosity. And what we've learned as well from speaking to, as you know, we've traveled across the United States speaking to various experts who have first-hand experience with, if you were to put them all together, many, many thousands of kids. And then we've been here in New Zealand traveling, speaking to experts here and in with the communities here. And we're off to Australia. So we have been Zoom calling and working with experts in Australia as well. So pretty much the consensus is that children are not that comfortable talking to their parents about sex. And in schools as well, when we spoke to high school kids, what they were telling us is that they want to know about things like anal sex. They want to know all these things that make us feel as parents desperately uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're telling me as I'm interviewing them, you guys are not telling us, so we're asking Google. Because what I tell my daughter when she says, oh, mum, you know, why does this happen? And what's this? And she asks me all these questions that I don't know the answer for. And we don't have encyclopedias anymore. I say, oh, well, we'll just Google that and have a look. So we brought up a generation to, you know, go and look online when they want to know something. So that's one of the ways that children, bringing it back to the exposure, that's one of the ways that kids are being exposed, is a natural curiosity. So they're going online and they're having a look. The other way they're being exposed is if someone shows them something that they've seen. And again, this doesn't make the kid who has shown the pornography to another child, that doesn't make them a bad kid. It's like, you know, like I think if I've bought Neve a new school bag or new shoes, and she's like really excited, I want to get to school, I want to show my friends, I want to show my friends. Or she's come to me and said, oh, such and such was at school, and she has this great pencil, and it does this and it does that. So that information sharing between kids when it's something that's new and novelty is also a normal thing. So that's the way that exposure can happen as well. By accident, kids can go online and type something in, and you literally have to type like one little letter out, and you're potentially, you know, being exposed to hardcore pornography. So these are the ways that our kids are being exposed. And yes, you're right, pornography is also seeking out as well.
Right.
So it doesn't just sit there in the background waiting for someone to access it. You know, there's money to be made.
Yeah.
They want to be actively advertising and pushing that wherever they can. So yes, online, gaming, all these, like basically anywhere on the internet you can find porn anywhere, Judith. That is the reality, you know. And if anyone is ever in any doubt, take your mobile phone and type in the word boobs, which is quite innocent word, and then click onto videos, and then see how long it takes before you're exposed to some hardcore video, you know, the little thumbnails.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, often as parents, you know, and I put my hand up and say I'm guilty of this. You know, at home we have the, you know, the sort of, don't even know what it's called, but the security anti-porn blocker, because I've got a teen and a tween, and so, you know, when we're searching for images, the last thing we want to, you know, are images to pop up that are inappropriate. So of course, you know, I get my Google images and I'm searching for something, and I've got all the black boxes saying, you know, adult content, and I can't access it on my PC. But I'm not really thinking beyond that to the fact that, you know, my teen is walking out the door with his data plan, and I haven't put a blocker on his phone. So theoretically, he can either by choice or by accident be accessing not just pornography, but as you say, pornography that's just disturbing in its content. And it's certainly inappropriate for, you know, for the tweens, who now often have to have a mobile phone because they are, you know, traveling away from home, and they're on trains and they're on buses and they're walking home and all that sort of stuff. So we give them phones to keep them safe. And isn't that the irony? Isn't that the irony?
Yes. To keep them safe. But when you actually start like learning about all of the damage that's being done, it is kind of that thing of, you know, we teach our kids how to cross the road. We tell our kids, you know, don't wander off from the playground. You know, where are you? Who are you with? We take them on play dates. We want to know who the parents are, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, as you say, and we hand them a phone.
Right. Okay. So let's step back from that, and let's say, right, we have a child who's, you know, say, you know, under 7, so they don't have a phone. And they're using devices, but they're using devices within our own house. How do we keep them safe?
Right. At home.
Yeah.
And I have to say, regardless of age, even under 7s have play dates, and, you know, they go to grandma and granddad's house, they have older siblings. So the whole thing is, rather than the age, it's like the home.
Yeah.
So what we recommend is the Lifeguard, and that is a box by Safe Surfer.
Right.
They're up in Tauranga. They're a not-for-profit organization, and they are one of the people that we're working with in this, making this documentary.
Right.
We're interviewing them. Now they have this box, and I think actually, if you bear with me 1 second, Judith, because I'm pretty sure have from the talk that we recently did. Ta-da!
Ah, right. Okay.
Now, Rob has done the technical side, and he is usually the one that screams at me to do the technical stuff at home, in terms of computers and things. But he was able to do this all by himself. So this is the box here.
Right.
And what it does is it plugs in to your modem.
Yep.
And then there's a password on this. So you put all of your kids' devices with this password. Keep your own like the password for your modem. Obviously, change it if your kids have been using the main Wi-Fi before, because they can get back on it. But you change all of the devices to this one, and this stops like 99.9% of anything that they can get.
But just when they're in the home.
Just when they're in the home, but they do have an one that you can pop onto their phones, an app, which I believe is free to download. Yeah. So yeah, I would pop onto their website, safesurfer.co.nz. The great thing about this box is it's one fee. It's about $160. There's no subscription for it.
Okay, so you just buy it and then it keeps it safe. Fantastic. Okay, so next question is, because there is such easy access, and obviously we can keep them safe in our home, but I know that, for example, my boys have been shown how to get around the schools, safety, parameters, and access the dark web, and that's common knowledge amongst the old kids. So what do we do if we suspect our child has seen something?
I think if I can go back a bit, because what we're trying to, the information that we're trying to give to parents, based on all of the research and everyone that we've spoken to over the last year, is that, like, this is great, but it's not 100%. This is not going to stop, in all circumstances where your child might access pornography. What you need to do is be having conversations. If you give a child a device, or you put your child in a position where there are other devices around them, you need to be having conversations with them. Right. I mean, you should be having a conversation anyway, regardless, because this is the day and age that we live in. And I can tell you how that would go for as young, like somebody asked me, how young should we be talking to kids about this stuff? And I'm going to say that, I said in 3, because I know of 3-year-olds who have been given access to tablets to watch something. And you don't have to tell them about pornography at 3. But what you can do is you can say something along the lines of, if you see any naked people, come and tell mummy, come and tell daddy.
Right, yes.
So it doesn't have to be this huge, big, scary, I've got to tell my 3-year-old about porn. No, you don't. You just have to make sure that if they see something naked, they can come and tell you. And then as they get older, there are many different ways that you can have that conversation, and it all depends on your child, because every child is different.
Yeah.
But what I would recommend as well, there's some great books out there, and we have interviewed the authors, spoken to the authors, or interviewed the authors, or working with the authors of those books. One of them, she does a book from age 3 to 6, and it's a read-along book, and it basically has a plan and everything in it that can help you as the parent to be able to open up this dialect.
Now, are those on your website? Are those books, the titles?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell, obviously I'll tell you the titles now, but the basic, even this box, everything is on the ourkidsonline.info.
Okay, all right.
And I'll flick you across the link as well.
Absolutely.
So those books, Kristen Jensen, she does Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior, and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, which is for a slightly older age range, 6 to 9, I believe. Then we've got Not for Kids, which is Liz Walker, and that's from around about 5 years old.
Yep.
Hamish and the Shadow Secret, which is for age 8 to 12. And I really do love this book. It was by Liz Walker as well. And one of the things that many parents don't realize is that when your child sees pornography, they can be aroused, physically aroused. So, and that's normal. But the the problem, apart from them seeing porn at that age,
Yeah.
like video porn, is they can have feelings of shame, or they can see something that's really violent, really confusing for them because they've never seen sex before. They don't understand really what's happening, but it makes them feel good. So they've got this thing where they're struggling because they feel good, but also at the same time they're feeling shame and upset. And when you get into a situation like that, and again, it depends on the child, but that's where you can get things like where kids are pushing stuff down. And so some of, like, for example, I know the story of one child who was exposed in the playground to hardcore violent porn by some older kids. And then this child was told, you have to do that to that kid over there because they're expecting you to do it. Now, this child went home, couldn't, like, had stomach aches, couldn't go to school for 2 weeks. And then I ended up having counseling and everything, but ended up ultimately older trying to commit suicide. And that was all from, all this stuff that had been pushed down and confused. Another example, a year 2 boy who was exposed by year 5 boys to violent pornography. 9 months after that, when his dad was putting him down to bed, he was saying, he actually collapsed in the playground because he was so shocked by what he saw. He was so overwhelmed by it. But 9 months later, he's there rubbing his little eyes. I can't rub the pictures off my eyes. So these are, if a child has some form of context and knows that you're a safe person that they can process this with, they are not going to try to deal with something that they are incapable of dealing with at that age groups. Yeah. So to me, yes, this super, super important. Every household should have one of these, but also every household should have parents who are having conversations, and these books make these conversations so comfortable.
Right.
We go up to the older kids, sort of teens and things, because that's a hard one. One of the things that I hear Rob and I have identified what we hear most common. The most common things we hear from parents, and this is not to to be mean to parents or anything. This is because if anyone out there experiences any of these, and we all have a bit of these that I'm going to mention inside of us, but if we have this, then it prevents us from being able to actually help our kids. So what we've identified is the not my kid. And again, to that parent, I would say, this is not about whether your kid is a good kid or a bad kid. This is about the fact that all kids are curious, and sex is something that they're curious about, and they're going to want to share it, or they're going to want to look for it. So it's not a case of not my kid. The overwhelm, yeah, man, it is so overwhelming, but it is way more overwhelming for our kids than it is for us. And there's so much out there to help us to be able to deal with that and make it not overwhelming. People who are struggling with their own porn addiction or porn issues, it's like you have to rise above that and just try and help your kid, like focus on your kid. It never did me any harm is another thing that we hear. It never did me any harm because I saw a magazine. But there's also a difference in seeing it online, and this is where I'll come to with kind of when you see it into the teenagers. Porn-induced erectile dysfunction is something that's happening in young men because they have been exposed to so much pornography, and usually before they've had a physical sexual experience. And so their brains, it actually rewires the brain. And so their brains are now like wired for this pixel, like super stimulating pornography, many different women or men, or different kind of stuff going on. And so with the guys, when they come to be with a real woman, they can't get it up, they can't finish. So there's those issues that are going on, but that's not just a physical thing. That causes a lot of mental health issues as well, in terms of just like with drugs, it numbs the feeling to anything around them. So gosh, yeah, I've spoken to some guys who have come out the other side of porn addiction, and it's just awful how much it affects them. You have teenagers who are going out there and they are doing hardcore violent pornography on each other. So statistics, there was an article recently it was a Stuff or in the New Zealand Herald, and it was saying that boys are worried because they're wanting to do violent things to girls after watching violent pornography, and links to women who are being strangled, links to violent pornography. So basically the standard at the moment is either choking or ejaculating on the face of sexual partners, which is, if you're like over 18 and it's your thing and you really enjoy it and everything, that's fine. But when you're a teenager, this shouldn't be your first sexual experience.
No.
Of course, the worry is if you're the mother or father of a son and your son has been watching this kind of pornography and he thinks that's what he's supposed to do. He's not a bad kid. He just thinks this is what I'm supposed to do. And he does this to a girl. And then afterwards, she thinks, have I just been sexually assaulted? And then wants to take that further and press charges. And now you've got this whole big grey area that the police are having to deal with, which is, has there been a sexual assault committed or has there not been a sexual assault committed? So it's a very serious thing. And it's very sad because our kids are missing out on holding hands. They're missing out on love. They're missing out on all these wonderful things. And they're, worst of all, they're missing out on actual good, healthy, fun sex, which is what they should be aiming for and not what they're seeing. So the whole thing of it didn't do me any harm. It didn't do us any harm because we only saw magazines and we didn't have, at the moment, this is the first time in the history of mankind that we've had access in this way to so much pornography. So that's another thing that we need to be really careful of. And also, sometimes, mums have said to me, well, I asked my son, is he watching porn? And he said no. But experts that we've spoken to, and one in particular, she has worked for 25 years in this field. She's a sexual educator, healthy sexuality educator. And she said, like the feedback that she's had is that boys rely on the naivety of their mums to say, oh no, I'm not watching porn, I wouldn't watch porn. And, they are. And then you have to think, well, why wouldn't they? Because, with that amount of testosterone and, and the thing is that we mustn't shame, the porn watching. We mustn't go, oh, that's bad. And then no matter what age your kids are, if they've been exposed when they're young, or if they're teenagers and you're concerned about them, we shouldn't be using negative, horrible words. What we should be doing, particularly with the teens, is explaining that, well, this isn't real. This isn't, this isn't very healthy sexuality. What we need is respect and human connection and all those kind of things. And these are actors. This isn't real life, and we've got to respect and consent. So many kids who just don't know what consent is, so.
Although, I mean, I have to say, and the feedback I've had from both of my boys from different schools has been that there is a lot more talk about, especially things around consent and what are normal relationships and respect and, and normalizing sexual relations in a really healthy way. A lot of those conversations are being had. And I know from talking to my boys, these conversations are very, very detailed, and we didn't learn about even what sex was until a biology class at 14, and then you get the mechanical stuff and that's it, and there was no conversation about relationships or anything like that. But I think these days schools are doing a much better job around that.
And I am like, I've also heard so many parents saying, well, the school should be educating, the school let this happen. My kid was exposed and they were exposed at school, or the school should be doing this. The schools are doing a magnificent job. They really are. I mean, when you think about how much they have to do in terms of like each kid, they're amazing. And one of the reasons that Rob and I have started doing talks where we go in and do a parent information evening is because we want parents to understand that their responsibility lies with the parents, not with the school. You know?
No, absolutely. Yeah, and I wasn't taking away, I wasn't saying that as a parent I shouldn't be involved, because I really feel like I should, and I feel that I should have conversations with my boys about all of these topics, and we've tried since they were little to have uncomfortable conversations in comfortable ways, so that as they get older, they feel that they can ask the question, they can share information without it being that uncomfortable. And so I do know, and I have heard the sort of conversations the schools have been having. Even my 11-year-old had a conversation with the teachers about blowjobs the other day. So, they are having very real and very, sort of, I guess, detailed conversations, which is fantastic. Which doesn't mean to say that I can step back from my responsibility, but I do feel that as a society we've moved a long way in the right direction.
And when you look at what's happening in terms of they've got some really good programs running in the schools to educate sort of the older children, definitely, and also within government. There's a lot going on there as well, where they're trying to work out what is the best way for us to deal with this, so that this exposure at this level stops. So there was the age verification process going on in the UK, and that's been kind of delayed or pushed to the side a little bit at the moment. But there's definitely work being done. In New Zealand, they have the Working Porn Party, and that's made up of various organizations, and everyone is doing their bit to try and like change legislation to up the education curriculum, to do all of these things, which is absolutely fantastic. Some of these things take a long time to implement, but in fact, I think I completely agree with you. As a society, we have gone, oh my God, what is happening? Or we're starting to go, oh my God, what is happening? And there are people out there who are working, like the Working Porn Party, the government, the schools, everything, are recognizing that it's an issue and doing something about it, which is great, right? Because Rob and I are only like two people in the whole wide world. So
okay, so two things to finish on. If we want to find out more information about what you're doing, and how we can get information and about the books and about those conversations, we go to your website.
Yes, if you hop on to so it's www.ourkidsonline.info. Yep. And on there I created that website as a resource for parents. So on that website there's links to videos. So Rob did 2 epic animation videos, one how to talk to your teenage daughter and 2 how to talk to your teenage son. So we've got those on there, plus all different videos from the experts, not everyone, but a lot of the people who are involved with us that we're filming or that we've met with, interviewing for the documentary. I've put onto
awesome, so we can go watch the experts talk about
all that. Yeah. I've also got articles posted up there, so like really relevant articles I'm popping up there, so they could be news articles or blogs. I've got links to various different organizations, their websites, like we've got the Light Project here in New Zealand, Fight the New Drug. They're great organizations that tap into so much more, so you can get to them through our website as well. We've got books, so links for you to be able to purchase the books that I've talked about. Links for Safe Surfer. There's another app called Bark. It's a US one that you can put onto the apps. And it
Right.
alerts you when something has happened. So it doesn't stop it from happening, but it alerts you when something's happened.
Yep.
Yep. And also Rob and I are doing talks now, parent information evenings.
Right.
So if you get in touch with me, I have a pack to send to the principals of schools, which if anyone's interested, if they get in touch with me, I can email that information, they can send it on to the principal. But it's basically about an hour-long talk. Rob and I go into, obviously more detail than we've discussed. We have a slideshow, we have videos, we have a resources handout, we bring some of the books and the lifeguard and everything to the talk.
Yeah.
And it's really important for us that not only do we make parents aware of what's happening, we also tell them about what normal sexual behavior is throughout the different ages. The abnormal, what to do if you think that your child has been exposed, what to do if your child has been exposed, how to handle it, and all the things that you can do to keep them safe. So it's a well-rounded talk, where we don't leave anyone going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is awful.
Cheery stuff to spend your life doing.
Yeah.
No, but someone has to have these conversations, and it's fabulous that you are bringing all this into the public eye. And as I said, I guess naively didn't even think about the fact that companies, and it makes sense, companies would be targeting children with pornography.
Judith, we found out that there are chat rooms for children. Like, why do children need chat rooms? And guess who goes and hangs out in the chat rooms? Yeah. It's a big, it's a big area. Yeah. And we also cover apps and gaming in the talk as well. We met with the covert online operations team in Wellington.
Yeah.
They're the undercover police.
Everything
online. And in that talk, we show some video footage, which is really, really insightful for parents around gaming and apps as well, because parents have said, oh, well, I knew about pornography, but didn't realize about this app or about this game and things. So and it does. It's unfortunately it will seek them out. Porn is not something that's just static. It's there looking. So
Look, it's been absolutely fabulous to have you on, Zareen. Thank you for sharing all this knowledge and for probably scaring the pants off a lot of us, because especially if we've got a 6-year-old, it's just not on our radar. But it should be on our radar, and
it shouldn't be scary. It shouldn't. Sex is a normal part of life. It's just unfortunate that we live in a society now where we have to be more proactive about telling our kids about that. Pornography, I'm not anti-pornography. It's like, if that's your thing, that's fine. My concern and Rob's concern as parents are children being harmed. We've seen the amount of damage that's been done, but it's a horrible, confronting topic, and it is very scary when you first realize, oh my gosh. But the great news is that, like, a lot of our journey has also been about what can we do. And the other thing as well is there's online courses that parents can do. So we've got information about that up on the site as well, and free. Some of them are free. So
superb. So thank you so much, Zareen, for enlightening us on this topic. Yes, it's been great to have you on. I won't call you the porn queen or anything like that.
Oh no, please.
But it's been lovely to have you on, and I'll put up some links to the website, because that sounds like a superb resource.
Smashing. Thank you so much, Judith. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for helping me to spread the word about this.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, see you later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.